We're back. Welcome to the WK Burnouts studio. I'm Christina.
And I'm Dustin.
And Alan behind the scenes, still
mean.
Yeah, he was just yelling at us.
Oh, well.
Nobody ever believes it because he doesn't have the cameras on to record then.
Oh, yeah. He misses all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to work under these conditions, but we're going to try our best.
Yes, Dustin, today,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I need help. So,
well, I'm here to help.
All these different driving conditions. So, front wheel drive.
Yes.
4-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
All-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
Rear wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
Say that 3 times fast.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me there's maybe a couple other.
Oh, yeah. There's
options.
there's a 4-wheel drive with an automatic transfer case, which a lot of us know from our full-size SUVs and trucks.
Okay.
And then there are all-wheel drive systems with disconnects. And this is a more common advent now than ever before. It's just ways for the manufacturer to, trick the EPA or something probably is kind of the way it seems. Which, hey, that's okay because it's cool mechanical stuff that is really good for people anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pretty long spiel about the go through between all of them. So if you start at the basic drive types, front wheel drive is the most common these days. Rear wheel drive used to be the most common, but front wheel drive is the most common on mid-sized, compact, subcompact, all the crossover SUVs, things that aren't body on frame, things that are unibody constructions, more of a car based or anything up through the mid-sized range. When you get to full size, they're body on frames, so it's a little bit different. But so a lot of front wheel drive based stuff there, and front wheel drive is great. It's super economical. It also gets around really, really well. It drives nicely in all sorts of different conditions. You don't have to worry about front wheel drive if it's just raining a whole bunch out and you losing traction and spinning out going around a corner. You just have a lot better control in normal driving conditions and just normal stuff we do on the road in bad driving conditions. You have really good control with front wheel drive.
Yes.
Now, you're limited sometimes by ground clearance. Okay. And terrain can limit you a little bit too. And in some cases, even people that don't live in rural areas may have a need for, let's say you live in the hills. They call your area of town the hills, right? So your driveway's straight up. You gotta, sometimes in those situations, an all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive would be pretty beneficial to you. But rear wheel drive is still out there, more in performance based stuff.
Yes.
But of course, pickup trucks all start out as rear wheel drive, 2-wheel drive vehicles. And that's what most of us drive our pickup trucks in, 90% of the time, here in the Midwest, lower Midwest. I don't know what you call us, not Michigan or anything like that. I don't know what they do up there. There's a lot of snow. They probably just dog sleds or something.
Just,
snowmobiles.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah. But
too cold.
So anyhow, front wheel drive, good control, good at a lot of stuff, sometimes limited. Rear wheel drive takes a little bit more finesse and a little bit of weight in the back. You remember the old sandbags that the people would always throw in the back in the trunk. Yeah, they would do that for more traction, more weight over the rear wheels because the engine's in the front. You don't need that on front wheel drive because the engine's over the drive wheel. So it's got the weight there.
Okay.
So that's cool. All-wheel drive there are various different kinds, many different kinds of all-wheel drive systems that they have on vehicles now, but we'll talk about just kind of the basic one. Let's say it's a front-wheel drive based all-wheel drive platform. Driving down the highway, dry conditions, normal conditions, 90% of your power or more or thereabouts is going to go to the primary drive wheels, the front wheels. And it'll keep just a little bit going to the back ones all the time until it senses slippage on one of the wheels. Then it will send more power to whichever direction it needs to
straighten it back up. Okay.
That uses StabiliTrak and stuff like that, traction control systems and stability management systems in conjunction to figure out which wheels to send the power to. 4-wheel drive, on the other hand, is more like blocking it in, right? So you drive around in 2-wheel drive all the time. You actually get to a job site, for example, and you're like, well, the lot's not poured here yet. I'm going to have to get in there and pull the skid steer out. That's why they have locking 4-wheel drive transfer cases where you lock it in. It stays in there. It doesn't wait till it detects slippage from one of your tires to send power to one of the other tires.
Now, this isn't like locking it in where, like, I remember you have to actually get out of the truck.
Yeah, and lock the hubs.
Yeah. So you are talking about
just turning the knob in the vehicle. Thankfully, we've had locking hubs for a long time now on a lot of stuff. I think the last one to have manual hubs, it had locking on it, but it had a manual locking option. Most solid front axle stuff like heavy duty Fords. Dodge, just heavy duty Fords. I think into the 2000s had the manual, but they were manual on top of automatic, so it was like just a manual backup. You really wanted to get out and lock.
Just to make sure.
Just to make sure. Yeah. But
do you have that on your truck, Alan? No.
Yeah. Alan's 97 Silverado's got automatic locking hubs in it. It's high-tech stuff. Does it work? It does now. See? Heard it here first, folks. See Alan up on the ridge.
We're just giving Alan a hard time.
Just trust it works.
Yeah.
Good truck.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but
that's okay. So something that's been a lot more prevalent lately on new vehicles that I brought up was all-wheel drive systems with a fully switchable 2-wheel drive mode. And they do this for a reason, is because if you have an all-wheel drive system, remember I said it's 10% to the front or 90% to the front and 10% all the time to the rear. Well, what that does when you make it so it sends nothing to the rear is it makes it just basically a front-wheel drive vehicle, which in turn turns less mechanical stuff and it has less drag, less friction on the powertrain. So it enables you to do the same stuff and get a little bit better gas mileage by not even bothering with hooking up the back tires. And you do that with just a push of a button. So that's pretty clever stuff, but don't confuse it with real lockable 4-wheel drive. That all-wheel drive still decides every time when you're in a stuck situation or like I said earlier, you're probably not stuck.
Right.
But you're in a situation where you're spinning tires. Every time you mash the gas on that all-wheel drive system, it decides after you mash the gas if it's stuck or not, which ones it needs to go to, right? With the 4-wheel drive transfer case, like in a pickup or a big SUV, it is already trying from all of them before you hit the gas. It doesn't have to tell it, hey, it's slipping. It just knows, hey, we're locked in we're in 4-wheel drive low. We're as locked up as you can get. Everything's going to try and do everything it can. So that's probably the biggest differences. All-wheel drive is great for 99% of us. The big convenience of it is that you don't have to do anything for it to work, right? It detects the slippage, it transfers the power. For it to work, you don't have to hit buttons. You don't have to do different stuff.
Just automatically kicks in.
So they thought, hey, that's pretty cool. Let's put all-wheel drive transfer or put 4-wheel drive transfer cases. Let's put the option of an auto mode. They want to confuse everybody. So you have a 4-wheel drive pickup truck and it has an auto mode on the transfer case. That's not all-wheel drive. That's automatic 4-wheel drive. That's if the forecast is calling for slick roads. It's 31 degrees. It's a little moist out. There's some stuff. And you think, I better be prepared just in case I come up from one stoplight or one intersection to the next and it's slick. I just want it to be ready to, instead of just blowing my tires off and then I can't pull out, I want it to be ready to jam itself into, actual 4-wheel drive. And it does that. And it's effective. But it's not the same as an all-wheel drive system. Like you don't want to drive around all the time with auto 4-wheel drive on.
You know what? And I bet a lot of people do.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I'm thinking about it, like.
We have a whole service episode about this. I did it for a long time on my Tahoe.
Yeah.
Until I went back to service and I got under the vehicle and looked at stuff with Morley. And he explained to me, he said, Dustin, I know it says this, but you got to spread the word on this. This isn't exactly how that system is designed to work. It is 95 degrees in summer all month this month. Why do you have it in auto? You're burning extra gas.
Right.
And this is in a 4-wheel drive, Tahoe. Have it in an auto, it still has the transfer case spinning. It's just disconnected at the hub end. So you're still spinning stuff in there for months. It doesn't need to even be turning. When you actually turn it off and turn it in 2-wheel drive, it doesn't spin any of that stuff.
Interesting.
So then you're back up where your economy should be, and you're not turning things unnecessarily, wearing on stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a good lesson for me that I've tried to make sure and tell, they don't lay this stuff out in great detail because it's different everywhere in the country.
Absolutely.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt on that. Take the advice from the people that know. I take the advice from our technicians who work on them and who diagnosed and repaired my problem for me that was caused by driving around in 4-wheel drive auto all the time. Yeah. So that's, like I said, try and split it up so that you understand the difference: front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, mid-sized unibody vehicles versus the big stuff with a body on frame, like your Tahoes and Suburbans and pickup trucks. But once you do that, it all kind of starts to make sense.
Yeah.
The differences and the capabilities.
Well, I didn't realize how, I've always had cars, and they've always been front wheel drive. And I never really noticed a difference until I bought a car and it was rear wheel drive.
Chrysler.
The Chrysler. And I'm like, oh, it can't be that, that bad. And I commute, back and forth.
Yeah.
And it's fine 95% of the time. But that one time that you're driving along, and I'm a very cautious driver. So everybody makes fun of me. Like I'm a grandma driver. Like I drive slow, but that one time when you have a little bit of a whoop, you fishtail, a little bit, and it's, oh yeah, I was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do this anymore.
What's your car now?
All-wheel drive. But for years, front-wheel drive was just fine. And I got, like I said, I commute back and forth, and I never really had a problem. And now that I have, my car that's all-wheel drive, I notice a difference. But money-wise, if I had an option of a front-wheel drive versus an all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive is perfect.
Yeah.
I
say that the biggest differentiator in front wheel drive to all wheel drive that most people ever notice in their lives is when you're, let's say, freshly plowed, snow, not a bunch, roads are pretty clear, but let's say you're coming out of a parking lot onto the road, right? There's that stuff piled up there and your tires go right in it, and you hit the gas and it's like spins a little bit and you're like, oh no. You know, and some of us would be like, mash the gas and go. And then you go, you're gone, you're fine. It's good. But for that percentage of people that aren't if it's spinning, let her eat, they'll be like, oh no, I'm stuck. Well, and that's because your 2 drive wheels are right in that one slick spot.
Right.
If you had all wheel drive, then it would transfer power to the back ones that are up and out of the little ditch thing, and then take off, and you'd be able to take out a little bit more effectively into traffic.
Sure.
So kind of alleviating that whole concern is pretty valuable for some people. The other way to alleviate it is mash the gas and let her eat.
Mash and go. But I bet most of the mash and goes are probably guys.
No, stop it. That's, I don't, sexist.
Y'all
I don't know if I agree with that.
Stress me out.
Yeah. Well,
it's like,
it's just a strategy.
As soon as it's a little bit slick out or there's some snow, it's like every guy is in their truck in 2-wheel drive down, down the road.
It's a challenge. You got to make sure you can do it.
It's annoying.
Well, I enjoy it. Yeah, you say it's annoying until here I am playing around with my toe strap in the back. I'm like, hey, I'll pull you out of that ditch. Oh, thank you. You're the best.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Just out playing.
Yeah.
Be thankful for us guys out playing.
I guess. But yeah, it's immediately. And I'm like, would you stop it? Rock does. I'm like, would you stop? And I would have lost control. So I guess, I'm a chicken.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
But yes, that helps because there's so many people that I have to have a 4-wheel drive. Well,
we used to get that all the time when like Equinoxes and the whole, what most people buy now, these mid-sized and compact, not subcompact, but compact SUVs. So many people were getting into those, and they had experiences with what I would call, I don't know, weak all-wheel drive systems. So they would be pretty adamant. They'd be like, hey, I want a mid-sized SUV, but I want it to have a real four-wheel drive. The reasons why always kind of got wishy-washy after that. Sometimes it made sense. It was because, okay, off-road conditions, I want it to, like I said, have the power there before it knows it needs the power there. You're going to be able to get out of some hairier stuff with a true four-wheel drive system than an all-wheel drive system in most vehicles, right? But the other reasons made a little more sense, which were, I don't need it all the time, therefore I want to have it in two-wheel drive for all the good highway stuff, and then be able to switch it. Okay, valid. Several years later, the world catches up and we have all-wheel drive vehicles with push-button all-wheel drive disconnects.
Right.
So, good on you for thinking of that and maybe motivating the manufacturers to keep that in consideration. You know, it was the longest time. It was kind of like the Jeep Liberty was about all that still had a true four-wheel drive transfer case. Yeah, because it was actually a body on frame mid-sized SUV. So, but stuff changes, and thankfully there are still options that meet, your individual needs for most of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get a chuckle every once in a while. You'll have, I have to have four-wheel drive. I have to have four-wheel drive because I have to be able to get to work. I have to, and
man, you're going to call in anyhow. What are you talking about? That's the truth. That's the first thing I think is, got to have it. Well, what for? To get to work.
Yeah.
What do you need it for? Work? Like when you get there? And we're just trying to help because you want a car and you've happened to have picked one with things on it that maybe.
And it's outside your budget.
Outside of your budget.
Yeah.
So to help, we ask those questions, and the answers are always the same, but it's almost a guarantee. Yeah, they're going to call in anyhow. Who doesn't? Most people, if you really would have to have a mechanical advantage to make it to work, you're probably going to call in.
It's like, why don't you just save that extra money for those days that you call in?
Yeah, get you a hot tub so you got something to do on those days when you call in.
I mean, we're not picking on anybody. It's just the truth. We see it often.
We see it. We live it.
We see it often, but it's just, I think this will help really clarify for, quite a few people who just want to, really understand the difference between and the options that are, that are out there, because I mean, I still have people sometimes I want that front wheel drive terrain. I mean, they'll say 4-wheel drive terrain. I'm like, front wheel drive? Well, FWD. Yeah. And I'm like, no.
So we've run into that.
Yeah. And that's okay. But that's our mission here is to help people
inform,
understand. Yeah. So I think it's a great episode.
I think so too.
Talking about this.
Without getting into the nuts and bolts of how every different model systems work, because they use different all-wheel drive transfer cases for different stuff.
Yeah.
So without getting into the nuts and bolts of everyone and the exact percentages and does it have a center? We haven't even talked about center differentials.
Which is way above my head.
Which is awesome. But
does it look cool?
Oh yeah, it looks super cool. It's under the car. You can't see it, but it looks cool if it's there. But yeah, there's a lot to know, and there's a lot of things that, like I said, probably the biggest thing that people need to keep on their radar, knowing that it exists, is the selectable all-wheel drive system that's in a lot of the new vehicles now. Yeah. It's pretty brilliant, especially like we said, for the amount of time people actually need.
Right.
That extra assist from other wheels is much lower than what you'd expect. So enjoy the better mileage.
Yeah, here in the Midwest, it's maybe, and somebody's going to comment that don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna go with maybe 3 to 5 days out of the year.
Right, yeah.
Do you really?
Generally.
I mean, and you're probably
called in.
Yes. So, I mean, prove me wrong. But I think it's great. I think we covered, everything that we were wanting,
some good stuff we wanted to
cover.
get out there and make sure that there was just a little bit of information on. And this is something that let us know if you want us to build on this a little bit more and cover some of the specific models. I'd love to talk about ones with different kinds of all-wheel drive systems. So, let us know if you want to hear about it. And we'll get some technical diagrams drawn up and put our thinking caps on and tell you all about it.
I'll have to really study for that.
Me too.
Yeah. I guess I'll be over here. Just the what he said. But guys, if you found that entertaining, we're usually pretty entertaining. I mean, at a point, and informative, please give us a like, share. That really, really helps us out. Yeah. We don't advertise, so that helps get us in front of more eyes. So share, like, and subscribe, of course. And we will cruise on by and pick you up next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
This has been a WK Burnouts production.